Hey guys, Ken's 97 Stowe 171. Don't know whether this video will turn out or not because it's dark out. Come on, dude, what are you doing? But, turn on my diff locks there. It's dark out, and I don't know whether the GoPro will do a decent job or not with it dark out, but we are going to try. I just thought I'd give this a whirl. I'm running a 4 gig memory card now, so I should be able to record for longer periods of time without having to break it up into little 15-minute pieces. I can just I've had a few incidences where, you know, I was going to break it up. I do like one right now and then one in 15 minutes and then the third one, and then when I try to do the fourth one, which should be, you know, an hour, it runs out of card space for some reason. So but as I said, I don't even know if this is going to turn out at all. The GoPro does not do so well at night, so we will see what we see. I'm going to have to stop for fuel. Thought I'd have enough to get up there. Motherfucker. All because of that fucker. Yeah, I know, he's got his right to go too, but Jesus Christ. Fucking happens every time. One guy pulls up, the light changes like that. That's something I wish we'd spend money on, is intelligent traffic systems. I don't know how the hell you would do it, but you can believe the number of times that, in cars and trucks, that you start, you get going, and then the light ahead of you turns red right as you get to it because there's one person. And there's 20 people on this road going, and one person sitting there waiting. You know, and the 20 people that already accelerated, wasted fuel to accelerate, have to all stop so one guy can go. Whereas if that guy would sit there for just, 30 more seconds, the 20 of us moving along could get through the intersection and then change the light. I don't know how the hell you would do it, but it's just frustrating. You roll through the gears, just about the time you go up to speed, fucking light changes. What's really annoying is when the person that's waiting at the light is turning right. I don't even know why they have a sensor in the road for him when he's turning right. I gotta remember to not take 74. I've been heading west into Indiana for pretty much the last week. I haven't been up here to GM in a long time. It's easy to forget and find yourself going the wrong fucking direction. put some new wipers on the truck today. The winter time's coming, and my drive back from Michigan City on Monday, it's raining the whole way, pretty much the whole way up and back. And time I got home, normally the wipers kind of get better. Usually they're better when the longer they run, the better. What I mean is, like, as the wiper starts to get a little bit old and it's a little crappy, when you first start using them at the beginning of the day, they kind of streak and miss. Yes, by the end of the day, they seem like I guess the rubber softens up a little bit, or I don't know, but it always seems to me that they, after they've been running for a while, they're a little bit better. And they got worse, actually, and they got better, and then on the way home, I mean, it was basically 5 hours of non-stop use, and I started noticing that they were not cleaning very well, so I stopped and just stopped at AutoZone, and they were I think it's a 21-inch blade, and picked up a set of Rain-X Latitude blades, which I've used in my car. They work really well. They're one piece of, it's like a piece of curved metal, so there's no pivot points. It doesn't have those joints in it like older wipers do, and the ice and snow gets jammed up inside those pivot points, and then the wiper doesn't work. So last season, my last set of wipers, they were that kind, but they were a cheaper Duralast or something, and they worked real well as far as rain, but the blade was sticks out the bottom of the wiper assembly, and the wiper assembly was kind of flat and kind of wide. It's kind of hard to describe. Anyway, ice would get jammed up to the left and to the right of the blade, and then would lift it off the window. And once that happened, it would leave us, it would not cover a spot on the window, and then ice would continue to build up. In a car, I don't think it would matter, because you got the washers, the sprayer. You get rid of the ice with the windshield washer sprayer, but maybe I've mentioned before, I have always found that the system that trucks use seems incredibly ineffective. Sprays it right on the window. It's connected to the arm, and you'd think it would work good. It sprays it right in front of the wiper blade, but it sprays it in a really narrow pattern, and I found that the washer fluid only stays like down here at the bottom. It doesn't really seem like it travels up the window very well, and I don't know why that, especially with this truck, there's that kind of a hump right there in front of the windshield. I got to put 3 or 4 sprayers right there and have it spray right onto the glass like every car on the planet does. It just seems like you use a lot of washer fluid. If you turn the wipers on high and use the wiper, use the sprayer, the wipers fling the washer fluid out more than it gets sprayed out, and you end up, most of it just runs down the damn windshield, and it doesn't even do anything. I don't know, maybe I could adjust the nozzle on it and have it spray higher, but The other thing is, if you ran it in, if you had it come out like right there, you probably can't see it, but have the washer hoses running under the hood on top of the engine heat, and it would also keep you from freezing up your washer fluid. The nozzles, I had a lot of trouble last winter with the nozzles freezing up. You press the button and nothing happens because they're out there exposed in the wind. It shouldn't matter, but it certainly seems to. I know in material objects don't feel wind chill, but for whatever reason, I had a lot of problems with freeze up, and you know, the washer fluid was rated for 20 below or something. Another one of those things where it's like the trucking industry is behind the automotive industry by about, you know, 10 years, 15 years. Those Rain-X Latitude blades work real well. I've used them on my car, and I think Consumer Report, you can check Consumer Reports. I think Consumer Reports had a thing on them that they tested wiper blades, and that the Rain-X Latitudes lasted the longest, which I think they said was 6 months. Might be a Mitsubishi Evo right there. Had the big ass wing on the back of it. Either that or it's a Ricer boy. No. When I say Ricer boy, I don't mean it's Japanese. When I think of a Ricer, I think of somebody making their car look like it's something that it's not. You got a real Evo or a Subaru STI. You got the big wing on the back. I personally don't like the way that looks, but it is what it is. When you got a regular Lancer with a body kit and a fart can muffler on the back and a big wing, that's a Ricer, at least in my opinion. And yes, I like American muscle cars too. In my mind, if it goes fast, handles good, does anything well, I'm all for it. I like it all. My friend's got a 2011 STI. It's nice. He got the hatchback model, which a lot of people don't like the way that looks, and but he needed it for the practicality of the hatchback. He's got stuff he's got to put in the back of it, and he really needed the storage. So it's a nice practical car. His is like a charcoal gray color with charcoal gray wheels, and the nice thing is that it doesn't really stand out. I mean, you know, if you didn't know what it was, I mean, the wheels give it away. You get smoked, you know, charcoal gray wheels with big red Brembo calipers on it. If you know anything about cars, it's obvious what it is. Plus the big STI badge on the back. But people that don't know nothing about cars, they have no clue what it is. And quite frankly, I think that's probably a good thing. Anytime you got a brightly colored car with a big wing on the back, you know, a big sign on it saying, "Hello, Mr. Police Officer. Pay attention to me because I'm liable to do something stupid, and then you can write me a ticket. I'm all about the sleeper. But he likes it though. Goes in the snow pretty good. He's got a set of he bought a set of high performance all season tires, and you know, it's not fantastic in the snow. I've got an older Subaru. You know, mine's like a freaking snowmobile in the snow. He has to be careful in the snow, but he doesn't ever worry about not being able to get home in the snow. So it's a good mix of practicality and fun. And his summer car is a Honda S2000. It's a 2004 S2000 with 205,000 on it now, and that's been an amazing car for him. You know, he takes care of his cars. You know, he doesn't baby them, but he also doesn't beat the shit out of them. You know, he's not hitting the rev limiter every 5 seconds, and he doesn't slam the gears every time. And you know, but he drives aggressively, especially through the curves. The S2000, he does take it through the curves pretty aggressively, but he doesn't really wind the engine out, you know, all the time. It's pretty amazing. That car has never been in the shop for anything like as in broken down. I think he's had a couple of batteries, oil changes, brakes, tires, which he does, and the clutch went out at 180,000 miles. The clutch went out, and he had the Honda dealer do that for him. But other than the clutch going out at 180,000, it's never been in the repair shop for anything, nothing, in 200,000 miles. Still running the original freaking rotors, brake rotors. He's put pads on it several times. It's just been an unbelievably reliable car. He's hoping the Subaru is the same, although I don't expect that it will be that good. It's a complicated engine, you know, turbocharging and intercooling and all that stuff. But I told him, you know, he doesn't abuse his car. It's likely to last a long time because the SDI has, you know, stronger parts in the driveline than a regular Impreza or even the WRX. So but I've got a 96 Impreza, 2.2 liter. It's got 211 on it and runs great. Transmission is in great shape, engine's in great shape. Needs some driveline work. It's got an axle and a wheel bearing on the right front that's going. Actually, the bearing isn't really bad. It's somebody swapped the front axles at some point, and we're pretty sure they put the wrong axles in the front. You can just look at them and tell it's not right. One of the axles is really stretched out, and the other axle is really scrunched up, and it's symmetrical, so they should be the same. So one of them, the CBs are kind of extended, and on the other one, they're kind of crunched up. Anyway, on the right, on the passenger front, what's happened is that the axle has damaged the inside of the where the spline goes in, and it moves front to there's slop in it, so it slowly has damaged the hub, and the only way to fix that is you got to change the wheel bearing because it's pressed in together. So and I've been still thinking about my Jeep. I found one that I'd really like to have, but I'm still, you know, the financially smart thing to do is to wait. But I found a 2004 Grand Cherokee Limited, loaded, silver, chrome wheels, which I'm not usually a fan of chrome wheels. But it looks pretty good on this car. It's got everything in it: memory seats, heated seats, dual climate control. It's got the 4.7 liter high output with the quadra drive. It's basically the car I want. It's got 120,000 on it, and they're asking, I think, 10 grand, $9,500, something like that. But I don't know. There's a lot of things going on in the life right now, and the smart thing would be to wait till all that stuff sorts itself out before I get into a car payment. I mean, it wouldn't be a big payment, but, you know, still. But I kind of decided on, you know, basically I want to get the newest WJ that I can, with the solid axles, front and rear. Decided I like that. And with the quadra drive. But, you know, I've been it's really weird. I'm still kind of up in the air. The quadra drive is really great because it's all-wheel drive all the time. You don't got to think about nothing, and it's pretty beefy. You can put a lot of power to any wheel, but the system can break. I mean, it can wear out, and then it doesn't work. So I've kind of been going back and forth a little bit. The other alternative would be to get just a basic select track, which is you can be operated in full time, so you can always run with it if you want. It can move power, I believe, to the front and rear, or it's a designated ratio of power. I can't remember, but it's really beefy, and it basically doesn't break. It's a very reliable transfer case. But when you get the select track, the front and rear axles are open differentials. So it does not have the ability to move power to the left or to the right to whatever wheel. Now, honestly, I mean, my Subaru is the same way. It's open differentials in the front and rear. So, but I like the idea of being able to lock power to one wheel or the other. So one option would be to get a little cheaper, a little less of a Jeep, get the select track, and then put a set of lockers in the rear axle or both. And so I started looking into that, and it looks like for about $400, and you can get them for as low as $250. They make automatic lockers, and the other option would be to go with an air locker, where you flip a switch to lock the differential. That would be okay too. Except that the ones that I've seen are pretty expensive, and also when you lock it like that, it does actually lock up completely. The automatic lockers that I've seen, and there's a bunch of different brands. One was called Aussie as in Australian, Aussie locker, True Lock. I think the one's called a Detroit locker. And they kind of work like the ratcheting mechanism in a ratchet, where it can spin one way but not the other. And there's a sort of a ratcheting mechanism in the differential, so that when you're going down the road, and say you turn left, the right outside wheel is going to spin faster than the left inside wheel. The ratcheting mechanism allows that outside wheel to go faster than another wheel. But when the speed equals out, they relock, and the same would be true it would not allow a wheel to spin faster under power. It equalizes the wheel speed under power from the drive shaft, but when a wheel is freewheeling faster, the ratcheting mechanism allows it to do that. Now, the one that I saw that was like $250, pretty much everybody said they work fine, but when you make turns, they kind of make a noise. And they clickety, clickety, clickety. And I'm thinking, you know, I don't want my Jeep. 99% of the time, I'm going to be driving it on the road. I really don't need it going clickety, clickety, clickety every time I make a turn. So, it looks like to get one that's totally invisible on the street, you're looking at about $400 to $700 per axle. The other option would be to try to find a cheap Chinese knockoff air locker, and then you lock it when you need it. That would be another alternative. So, I don't know, you know, you go with the quadra drive and worry that the system may malfunction and be expensive to fix at some point, or do you go with the more basic, reliable select track and put lockers on it for when you do get into some seriously gnarly crap. And the lockers are stronger than what the quadra drive could do. I mean, it does actually lock, whereas the quadra drive sort of locks, but doesn't completely lock. Or if you had a locker on a select track, you all four wheels would be spinning absolutely positively. So I'm kind of leaning that way too. I mean, it's like, you know, there's a lot of options, and I don't really know what to go. And I'm thinking way ahead. You know, it may be next year before I decide I get a Jeep. And you know, as I mentioned, I kind of wanted an 03, 04 WJ. My friend's got a 97 ZJ, and he made a comment. We went out last weekend. I posted a video, you guys saw maybe, of me out at my wife's got some property down in Kentucky, and my friend we took his Jeep down there. He made an interesting comment that I hadn't really thought of. He's like, do you really think that you want to take your very nice looking 2004 limited model Jeep down there in the branches and the wood and get it all scratched up? And I was like, well, I hadn't really thought of that. I just figured, you know, I don't care. I don't really care if it gets scratched up. But then I started thinking, you know, if I had a really nice 2004 model Grand Cherokee that was in excellent shape, maybe I would care about driving through the twigs and the branches and the brush and getting it scraped up. So my friend suggested, why don't you spend, you know, a couple $1,000s and get a ZJ that's in good shape, get the select track, and put some fucking lockers on it. And I was like, you know, I thought I knew what I wanted, and then I started thinking, well, what am I going to use it for? You know, but then again, it's like, if I'm going to buy a 97 Jeep, why don't I just keep my 96 Subaru? I mean, granted they can't do the same kind of task, but 99% of the time, the Subaru is enough. So, it's like, you know, I don't know. I'm really confused about what to do. I mean, I work my ass off, and I'd really like to have a really nice, newer car. My wife has an 06 Legacy limited edition. It looks like a Legacy GT, but it's not a GT. It's got everything but the motor in it. And I get it, hers. It's a really nice car. You know, like, man, you know, I work my ass off. I'd really like to have a nice car too. Nothing wrong with my Subaru. Nothing wrong with my Miata. But they're both 15 years old. you know, and you kind of feel like, man, I deserve a nicer car. But then I don't really want that payment. The problem, too, is, I mean, you know, Chad commented, he's like, well, why don't you just get a ZJ and keep your Impreza? You know? Now, one option might be to get a ZJ for the winter, you know, and maybe sell the Miata, sell the Subaru, and buy some other newer car like a Hyundai Accent, or, I mean, granted that's not a fancy car, but it would be newer and nicer, and it would get good mileage. So one option might be to sell both other cars, get one nice new car that's not all-wheel, not a four-wheel drive, and get the ZJ for going out in the bush and in the wintertime. So that's an option as well. And but I don't really know. I don't really know what I want to do. And you know, when you don't really know what you want to do, when you're kind of like up in the air about things and you're not sure what you want, not sure if it's the right thing to do or what the right thing to do is, your best bet is to just not do anything and let itself sort out. And it's real easy for me to sit here and say that, like, yeah, that's what I know I should do. But man, when you go over to that dealer and you look at that nice, shiny, new thing that you want, it is really hard to go, you know, to not sign on the dotted line and get something that you want. It's not something I need, it's something I want. And, you know, the economy's still kind of so-so. Got some shit going on in the personal life that's sort of so-so. And I don't have a car payment. So, I don't know. And on top of it, my friend says, well, Ken, if you ever want to go down to the property and fuck around in the woods, you know, and go off-roading, you can always borrow my ZJ. So I'm like, well, well, shit, maybe I'll just borrow my friend's when I need a Jeep. And his is real nice. I mean, it's a 97, it's a Laredo, it's got the 4-liter inline 6, which in the ZJ I think works better. I think the ZJ weighs a little bit less. His car does not feel underpowered. When I drove a WJ with the 4-liter, it felt a little underpowered. I think the WJ is a little heavier. It was adequate, but it wasn't, you know. The other thing to consider is in Kentucky, your tags and your registration are based on Blue Book value. So, you know, I think it's 2% of Blue Book value. So, if I've got a nice, expensive new car, you know, I'd be looking at a couple $100 a year for license plates. So, and that kind of sucks. I'm going to get off here at this at exit 36, get some fuel. I'll stop the recording when I pull up to the fuel aisle. I got a half a tank. I could probably make it up to Defiance, but anytime I'm around a half a tank and I go to Defiance, it's always a little close on the way back. And I'm already running a little bit late, so an extra 10 minutes of being more late really won't make any fucking difference. You know, we took my friend's Jeep down there to the property. You know, it was muddy and crappy, and we didn't have any. He's just got select track with open differentials, and you know, we really didn't have any problems. So getting around, I mean, we had no issues at all. So there again, it's kind of like maybe the select track is really enough. You know, and if you decide you wanted to get into some more off-roading, you buy the fucking lockers. But I don't know, you know. On one hand, I'm attracted to the nice, shiny, new, you know, WJ, and on the other hand, I'm attracted to the older, more rough and ready ZJ that you're not gonna freak out when you're driving through the bushes. You know, when a branch scratches, you know, squeaks down the side of the vehicle. So, you know, I don't know. Like I said, it's kind of funny. Crunching the gears a lot this week. Truck went in for service, and that's a whole nother freaking story. And they did as I asked and adjusted my clutch pedal, so the pedal is lower than it was before. And I think they either disconnected or something broke, because the return spring, there wasn't enough free play in the top of the pedal. Well, now there's plenty of free play. In fact, there's a little too much. But the pedal doesn't return. There's no spring holding the pedal up, or if there is, it's really weak, and so it kind of screwed up in a different way, and the pedal is in a completely different position, and the engagement point is completely different. So I've been crunching gears a lot this week. Good, there's some open fuel aisles. Wouldn't mind getting a bite to eat while I'm in here too. A lot of times what I do, if I need to go and I don't have time, I'll just pick up a couple of corn dogs or something. You can eat those while you're driving, you know. Yeah, I know, breakfast of champions, right? But oftentimes it's better than taking the time to sit and eat. Anyway, guys, here I am, and I'll be back shortly after I fuel.